Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian are the three biggest cruise operators in the US market, and they each have an established reputation in different areas. Quality, service, ships, amenities, included packages, ports and itineraries, private islands, and last but certainly not least, pricing. And that is what I want to talk about today. Is it really that easy to just say that Royal Caribbean is always more expensive than Carnival? Or to say Norwegian always falls somewhere in the middle? I did a quick survey of cruise pricing across a couple different itineraries and found that our assumptions around pricing are not always as foolproof as we think, depending on how we approach planning our next cruise vacation. I am certain that if you did a detailed quantitative analysis across hundreds of cruise sailings, like you were conducting research for a white paper, that you would certainly see some trends shake out across a large enough sample. But if you're looking at limited itineraries, like you're planning for an upcoming trip, be careful not to rule out a specific cruise line based on what you assume about their pricing. I think you might be surprised by what you find, and I'll show you what I mean based on a little bit of digging I did myself. Hey everyone, this is Ben, and welcome back to ExploreInformed, where we dig into the details of travel. So the next time you go exploring, you go better informed. Before we jump in, if you are enjoying these episodes, feel free to follow us along on social media, like the video with the thumbs up button below, or subscribe to this channel to see our future content. Today we are talking about cruise pricing, and I want to encourage you not to make any assumptions about these three cruise lines. Again, we're talking about Carnival, Royal, and Norwegian, and their pricing when you are planning your next cruise vacation. I looked at 5 different itineraries: a 7-night Eastern and a 7-night Western Caribbean from Florida, a 7-night Caribbean trip from Galveston, 7 nights in Alaska, and 9 or 10 night sailings in Europe. And what I found surprised me. Across these 5 itineraries, each of the 3 cruise lines was most expensive in at least one market. Let me walk you through those 5 itineraries. On the 7-night Western Caribbean from Florida on August 3rd or 4th of this year, Royal Caribbean came out much more expensive for both inside and balcony cabins than either Norwegian and Carnival. On the 7-night Eastern Caribbean, with the same sail dates, Royal again came out most expensive, but it was much more competitive outside of the suite class. And as a note, I didn't see a closely equivalent sailing for Norwegian on this sail date. On the 7-night sailing from Galveston in June of 2020, Carnival took the cake and generally came out more expensive in 2 instances over Royal's Liberty of the Seas. Alaska was fairly competitive for June of next year, but sailings on Norwegian's Jewel and Joy appeared to be the most expensive for that itinerary, when compared to 2 Royal sailings and 1 from Carnival. And lastly, on a 9 or 10 night sailing in Europe, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Either Norwegian or Royal was the most expensive, depending on which class of stateroom you were looking at. Now, I know what you're probably thinking or saying after all of that. This isn't really an apples-to-apples comparison. You can't really compare the pricing for a new Oasis-class ship on Royal Caribbean to an aging Carnival ship. And you are right. And that is my point. If you compare all cruise offerings globally for Royal Caribbean and Carnival, for example, one is going to come out on top as most expensive, and I think I know who that would be. But if you're the kind of person who says, I want to sail the Eastern Caribbean, and I want to sail out of Miami or Fort Lauderdale, so let me see what options I have, then I want you to know that pricing is all over the place, and don't rule anyone out. No 2 cruises are identical in their offering. Let me repeat that. No 2 cruises are identical in their offering. As a result, you're going to see variation in pricing. And there are many different factors that may potentially impact how much a cruise is going to cost, even within a single market or region or itinerary. First off, the ships. New ships may command premiums over older ships. And the market has preferences on large or small ships for certain itineraries, like Alaska, for example. Onboard features and amenities obviously vary greatly across ships and lines, and recent refurbishments or facelifts may also have an impact on pricing as well. Second, the itineraries. Just on the Caribbean alone, we still have the Western Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean, and the Southern Caribbean. For Alaska, we have both one-way Alaska itineraries and round trip. And timing has an impact as well. How far out is this sailing? Is it later this year, next year, or even the year after? Thirdly, there are different value adds that could also impact how much a cruise is going to cost. There are built-in packages like Norwegian's Free at Sea. Many lines now have exclusive ports or private islands, like Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Various promotions may have an impact on pricing or the perceived value, like if you get onboard credit as part of your sailing. And lastly, there are product or marketing differences as well. For example, what is defined as a suite on Royal, Norwegian, or Carnival. So even within a single itinerary, you're going to see different kinds of pricing across the different cruise lines for a number of different reasons. Now, I'll issue my usual disclaimer. This is a quick survey and not a comprehensive quantitative study. But I think the lesson speaks for itself. If you're planning your next cruise, Don't make an assumption about what you can or cannot afford going in. Sure, generally some lines are more expensive than others, but for the day you are hoping to set sail, you may be surprised by what you find. So that marks the end of this show. If you found this information helpful, let me know by providing a comment or saying so below. Or if you have a related recommendation or tip, please feel free to share as well with your fellow viewers and myself. I've also added a polling question up here about this type of pricing related video. If you don't mind, please let me know how you feel about this type of content. Any and all feedback helps me to better understand what you all want to see. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ExploreInformed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you folks next time.